Hello, clarinet and sax players. I just want to take a few minutes to review reeds and mouthpieces and how all of that business goes together. Before we really get into it, I just want to state really strongly that reeds are super fragile and you should always take special care when you go about handling them. So this is a clarinet reed. It's one of the smaller ones. You always want to make sure that you hold at the thicker section at the bottom. It's a little discolored. You always want to avoid touching up here. This is really fragile. It's paper thin, especially up at the top. So always really try to handle it down here. And then when you're done, you always want to make sure you put it in a reed case. So this is just the reed case that came with the reed. When we're finished with it, I'm just going to place it back in, leave it in there like this. You never want to leave it attached to the mouthpiece. That can cause it to get damaged in transit, or it can get moldy and gross. So yeah, always put it back in a reed case when you're done. So to get started with getting your mouthpiece together, take your reed out of the reed case and you're going to pop it in your mouth about halfway, the skinny end first. And you're going to leave it in your mouth for about 30 to 60 seconds. And what this does is it soaks the reed so it becomes pliant and movable. If the reed isn't soaked, especially in this dry Colorado climate, you're going to have some trouble getting sound. So 30 to 60 seconds of soaking is really good. And while you're soaking your reed, you should be typically putting your instrument together, but we'll save that part for another lesson. So looking at the mouthpiece, it consists of two parts. So we have this metal thing here, which is called the ligature, and this is the mouthpiece. So you'll want to make sure that the ligature isn't completely tightened at this part of the game so that you have some headroom to clamp it down later over the reed. That's what the ligature does. It holds the reed to the mouthpiece. So looking at it specifically, you can see that there's just a little bit of space in between these two main parts where you can see the screws. It's about 1/8 of an inch. That's usually what you're looking for. What you don't want to see is it squished all the way together like that or pulled super far apart. I can't do that without loosening all the screws, but you get the idea. So we got about 1/8 of an inch, and that'll give us some room to tighten. And next thing, I'm going to put that to the side, and I'm going to take out my mouthpiece. So if you look at the mouthpiece, there is a flat section and then the whole other sides of it are round. So the flat section here is going to match up with the flat section of the reed. If you look at the reed, it's kind of hard to tell from the camera, but it's rounded on one side and it's flat on the other. And the flat side is usually really easy to identify because it'll have the brand name of the reed there. So if it says Rico or Van Doren, that's the flat end. That's the part that's going to go on. And what you want to do is you want to take it and you want to place the flat against the flat and you want to line it up just like this. So it should line up pretty nicely. You can see the rounded edge of the reed should match up with the rounded part of the mouthpiece. And I'm going to hold this here with my left thumb, just like this. And while I'm holding that, I'm going to grab my ligature and being really careful, I'm going to slide the ligature over the mouthpiece and the reed and push it all the way down. So it should look like this. You can see that the space between the two sections of the ligature where you can see the screw, that is over the reed very clearly. I'm going to straighten it out a little bit more just to make sure it's nice in the center. So this is what it looks like. And you know your reed is lined up when you look at the top and you can see just a tiny bit of the plastic. Just 1 mil, maybe 2 millimeters, so not very much, right? So I'm looking at my reed. It's a little low. I'm going to push it up just a little bit, and again, I'm holding it from down here, always trying to handle it from the discolored section. I'm going to push it up, and right there, that's what we're looking for. I can barely see the plastic up top. I'm going to push down on the ligature one more time, tighten it up. So now we're ready to go. So when you play on the mouthpiece, you want to hold the mouthpiece with the reed facing down. And you want to tuck in your lower lip like so. So your lower lip is going to cover up your bottom teeth so that your bottom teeth aren't touching the reed. Your top teeth are going to go on the top of the mouthpiece. So lower lip tucked in, top teeth in the mouthpiece like this. And then you close your mouth around it. Now, when you close your mouth, you want to be really careful not to push up against the reed with your lower lip, like this. Like really hard pushing up like that. If you do that, the reed will be pushed into the mouthpiece and air will not be able to get in. So you wanna make sure that your jaw is relaxed, your lower lip is not pushing up super hard. You want to think of it like you're blowing air through a really flimsy straw. If you were to squeeze that mouth shut, you'd close off the straw and then air couldn't get in, and then you're not going to get sound. So I'm going to place this in, lower lip tucked in, top teeth in the mouthpiece, not squeezing. I'm going to take a big breath and I'm going to blow into the mouthpiece. And it's going to sound horrible if you're doing it right. So you've been warned. So really bad, not a very pleasant sound at all, but that's what we're looking for, right? When you put the whole clarinet or the sax together, you're going to get a much more pleasant sound. So that's what we're looking for day one. The second lesson, third lesson, will be putting the instrument together and going into the complexities of that. But this part here is really super important to get. And talking about reeds and how they go on the mouthpiece is kind of confusing, so it's good just to kind of review that. So when you're done, you want to loosen up the screws, and I'm not going to loosen it up a ton. I'm just going to turn once, twice, that's it. And then just pull the ligature off. That's it. I'm not loosening it all the way. I'm not pulling the screws off. Take my reed, and I'm going to pop the reed back into a reed case. Very first thing to make sure that reed is safe. Again, I want these to last as long as possible because $2 to $3 a piece can add up if you are clumsy or if you are careless. And then ligature slides back over the mouthpiece, goes back in the case. So real simple lesson. If you're having some trouble with this, let me know and we can go over it in class, and I will see you guys later.